Welcome, everybody. Thank you. Good morning. I think we should start with a roll call.
All right. Molly Weston Williamson.
Present.
Eva Bermuda Zimmerman.
Present.
Sheila Hummel.
Present.
Adrienne Cochran.
Present.
Justin will not be joining us today, and Sal Luciano has not yet joined us, but we do have a quorum. Thanks, Molly.
Great, thank you. And I do want to acknowledge that we have a number of great members of the staff here, and I believe we also have some members of the public with us. And so thank you, everybody, for joining us this morning. And with that, oh no, I clicked on the wrong button, so now I can't see the agenda. Okay, I fixed it. Sorry. I think our first item of business is to approve the minutes from the last meeting. So is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second it.
Thank you. All those in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye.
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 Any opposed to approving the minutes? Any abstentions from approving the minutes? Great. The minutes are approved. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to updates from Jessica.
Thank you, Molly. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Morning.
Okay.
We can see your screen, Jess.
Thank you. All right, so I was just doing some poking around in our Google Analytics and just wanted to update you on our website traffic because we haven't looked at that in a while. So as you can see, we have pretty good coverage throughout the state in terms of where visitors are coming from. No surprise that we still see concentrations of visitors in some of our larger cities, and the top 10 locations for visits in January you can see listed on the screen. So the usual suspects in terms of Hartford, New Haven, Stamford, Bridgeport, Waterbury. But I was also pleased to see that we had Danbury and Middletown in the mix as well, which indicates to me that our statewide media efforts are paying off since we are getting folks from all corners of the state to our website. I also wanted to update you on a Google AdWords campaign. So Google AdWords are when you do a search in Google, the first things that show up at the top of the page that are the paid ads, and they say sponsored next to them. So that's different than our organic search, which we continue to do very well with. But we did start a small business targeted campaign towards the middle of January. So it's been running for about a month, and I just wanted to give you an update on how that's performing. So you can see in January, for just about not quite a 2-week period, we had over 133,000 impressions with over 4,800 clicks. And for the first 2 weeks of February, we've already delivered almost 626,000 impressions and nearly 10,000 clicks. And all of those are going to the small business landing page of our website. In terms of keywords that people are clicking on, CT paid leave, which indicates that we are doing a great job branding the program name because that's the number one thing that people are recognizing. And then others are paid family medical leave, paid family medical leave act. And then we also had a couple clicks on how to paid leave health, and small business paid leave. An update on events. Wanted to acknowledge and thank Erin, who has been doing some in-person events for us. So last week she presented at a panel with the Milford Chamber of Commerce. And coming up in March, she is going to be with the Human Resources Association of Central Connecticut in one of their in-person meetings. And then this great event that Nancy and I were actually supposed to attend last fall, and it's been moved a couple of times due to the pandemic and now due to some scheduling issues, but the new date on the calendar is for May 14th and 15th. That's the Women's Better Health and Living Expo, which will take place down in Bridgeport at, I want to call it the Arena at Harbor Yard. I think it has a different name now, but it'll be a great event. It's a 2-day venue, and it's really focused on everything having to do with helping women live healthier lives, both in lifestyle, medical, all that kind of thing. So Nancy and I are excited to be down there for that event. In terms of just webinar and virtual event updates, since January 1st, we've had 18 webinars so far. There are many more on the books. And then thanks to Jacqueline, as you heard about in the board meeting last week, just this week alone, we had 3 Facebook Live events with 3 different legislators that she set up. And those were all really great conversations with Andrea and the various legislators. Another new development with our outreach and engagement is that we have a partnership with the Alzheimer's Association for their New England Family Caregiving Conference, which is happening the weekend of March 4th and 5th. It is a virtual conference, but we are working with them as a community partner. So our information will be listed on the website during the slideshow that plays in the lunch break, in the conference program, and on the Facebook chapter page. So we just thought this was another great way to reach that caregiving community, especially with the recognition of the Alzheimer's Association. And this is the 2nd time that they are doing this conference virtually. So we're excited to be a part of that. Also, just wanted to provide an update on what we're doing with healthcare professionals. As I believe you heard me say last month, Nancy has been working really hard in making connections with different healthcare professionals. And she and I had a really great conversation with Starling Physicians last week. And what came out of that conversation was the request for sort of an abbreviated on-demand webinar for healthcare providers that they could watch on their own time, since obviously with their schedules, it could be tough to get them to a pre-scheduled live event. So we are working with Erin, and she's putting together some content for us that we'll then be able to send out not only to that group, but also in sort of a digital care package, if you will, to other healthcare providers that we've been talking with. And then in the vein of just continuing that education about COVID, Nancy also created the infographic that you see here on the screen, just as another way to deliver that information and get it into the hands of those healthcare providers who might be able to provide more guidance if they do have a patient that's suffering from COVID, and indicate to them if they may be able to receive benefits. And then lastly, just wanted to update on the small business pilot program. So this is something that we've been working on with CBIA, and we did have a conversation with WBDC last week as well. And the idea behind it is that we are these organizations are identifying small businesses within their membership that would like some more individualized help with Connecticut paid leave. So we have 4 business advisors on our staff who will be matched with these different businesses, and they'll be sort of their go-to for one-on-one guidance and questions. So right now we're developing all the materials to launch that, including an introductory video, an on-demand webinar, a welcome letter, and some other materials that we can use to welcome these businesses to the program. And we're really excited not only to be able to offer this service, but also to gain more insight from these businesses on what some of the common concerns or issues are, so we can continue to develop our marketing materials to address that. And that is the end of my presentation. Happy to answer any questions.
I'll be brief because my children are especially noisy today, so you may hear them in the background. But I mean, that all sounds like really excellent stuff that's happening. And I think that I just want to say the small business pilot program sounds especially exciting. I'm curious about the small business advisors. Are those like authority staff members? Like, who are those folks? Who are the business advisors?
They are, good morning, everyone. They are in actually in the benefits area. So we actually hired people to start with to become more specialized to support small businesses because they all have experience in that area. So while they're also doing, at this point, a lot of oversight with AFLAC, some of them have some capacity. We're only talking about 12 organizations or 12 businesses that have asked for that hand-holding support day by day, which is great because we wanted them to step up and say, we really need this because I don't really get it. So it's not a huge volume, and we think it's worth it so that we can really understand how to support them and then in turn support the rest of the small business community.
I think that's awesome. And I think potentially could be a national model. So I'm really interested to hear how that goes. And I'm glad to hear you have, are starting with what you have capacity for. And if capacity is needed, we'll figure that out later.
When we call CBIA, we kept emphasizing pilot. it's a pilot.
12 is helpful context of the scale.
That's true. Yes, it is. Right. I think it's 12 or might have grown to 14, but it's not any larger than that right now.
Yeah, we're not talking, 100.
Hundreds. No, we are not.
Got it. Thank you. That's super helpful. I just looked up, I think Ada had a question in the chat about where to find the WBDC combined events.
So Ava, are you referring to webinar events that we're doing? Yeah, so I believe, and Amber, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe those should be on our events calendar. Is that correct? Yeah, and I also can send out a list of the events we're doing with WBDC and the links afterwards. So they're easy for you to get to.
Awesome. Any other questions for Jessica? Okay, hearing none, I think, sorry, go ahead. I think we've got an update from Nancy on the podcast.
Good morning, everybody. I hope you're enjoying this warm weather. It's beautiful outside. I'm rejoicing a little bit on that. As you well know, the initial pilot podcast was released on February 7th with Andrea. And we've gotten so many downloads. I'll get some more information on that when I go down to the studio today. But I think that we were at almost 100 downloads, which is really wonderful. Yeah, which was really great. So I'm really impressed with that. February 21st, which is going to be a holiday, will be the next release of a podcast, and that is going to be with Governor Ned Lamont. So that will be released on Monday. And that's sort of the cadence that I would like to keep, is twice a month. March is Women's History Month. I'm working on trying to get some really impressive women who are involved with paid leave. I think that that would be really wonderful if we could do that. So that's my goal for March. And we already have some already done that we can do in April. Domestic violence was one that I've done, and also one for organ transplants. So we're steadily steaming along. So it's exciting. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me.
Jess, is it okay with you if I mention the other program we're working on for May? Or do you want to wait on that?
No, I think we should definitely, let's talk about it.
Okay, so we had started out by, because it's Black History Month, we had started out by trying to identify people, particularly Black people, who were organ donors, either organ donors or recipients of an organ donation. And we did identify someone who's very prominent in our community. And we started to work through actually inviting him to a podcast so that we could have this discussion about healthcare disparities, paid leave, and really make it a more robust discussion about why paid leave is so important. He prefers to have an even broader discussion in May with a larger community that includes one of our largest community foundations. So I couldn't say no to that. That obviously makes a lot more sense and gives us a broader platform. And it will still be the same topic. It'll still be a broader discussion about healthcare disparities in communities of color. And the economic disparities that come with that, and why paid leave is so important to help try to equal the playing field in some respects, and why it's not just about getting a few days off, but it really is about really understanding the philosophy behind paid leave. So we're excited about that, and we're working towards it. And I just spoke with him on Sunday, and knowing who he is, it will happen. So we're excited. Wanted to share that.
That's wonderful. Looking forward to hearing more. Any questions for Nancy or Andrea? Great. And with that, I think we're back to Jessica for an update on the PR and media firm.
Great, thank you. So yes, we've been working closely with our PR contractors, and they are working on a couple of different op-eds that they're pitching to various publications throughout the state. They're taking the approach of kind of finding different articles or studies that pertain that we can model to pertain to paid leave. So for example, there is one that's currently being pitched, which addresses the wealth gap in our state, and the fact that we have both some of the richest and most underprivileged communities, and how paid leave can play a role in, again, sort of equaling the playing field in some ways in terms of access to healthcare. So we have some things like that in the works. I will report as soon as we hear back on what publications have accepted them. And then they are also working on a national scale. So for example, Andrea is going to have a feature which will focus not only on her and her profile, but also paid leave that will be in Authority magazine on medium.com. And they are also in conversations with a website called glavity.com, where they're pitching some different stories as well. So we're really asking them to put the focus on continuing with local, of course, but also national media, since there is this larger conversation. And as I'm sure Jacqueline will talk about, there's so much happening in so many different states that we think it really provides a great opportunity for Connecticut to be in the spotlight and talk about what we've been doing. And I'll continue to provide updates as things go into publication or broadcast.
Great, thank you, Jessica. Any questions about that? And with that, I think we can turn it over to Jacqueline for a legislative update.
Hello, good morning. I don't have too much different from what was presented on Thursday. I want to thank Jessica and Andrea for this week. We had 3 webinars that were great, and it was good outreach. There was a lot of good questions, very specific, that helped to get into nitty-gritty stuff, especially in terms of employee-employer relations, which I think is a really important conversation to have so that people understand their rights and their protections. So it was great. Andrea answered it well, and Jess was helping to triage the peanut gallery a little bit. There was somebody that was a constituent who just actually solved her case. So it was great. It was really great. And it just enabled us to have more of a direct conversation with constituents as well. So we had Representative Hughes on Valentine's Day and Senator Haskell on Tuesday. And then last night was Representative Gilchrist. So Representative Hughes and Haskell overlap in terms of their districts, but Representative Gilchrist was in West Hartford, which is another part of the state. So it was a good geography mix, and we'll be having one on March 2nd with Stephanie Thomas, Representative Thomas, and she's exciting, especially because, well, they're all amazing, but she has a connection to Sole Proprietor Consultant Group. So that we're excited to be able to tap into that network to have a direct conversation with them. So that is what we have planned right now. I've been following up with Senator Anwar. Saud Anwar wanted to do one. He's in South Windsor, so that would be another part of the state where we can tap into. So it was good, and it's nice to have that direct one-on-one with constituents, and they feel good about that as well. So I've been monitoring the legislative session. Started February 9th. And I'm sure you all heard about the great shout out the governor gave to Andrea and the team. Definitely everybody's been doing amazing work. I've been monitoring every day the list of bills that have come out, and there's not been anything that's popped that's concerning as of right now. So we'll just, keep moving. I'm not sure if this committee and Andrea, maybe this is a side conversation to have, if the legislative tracking sheet that we're starting to put together, I'm just finding things that, maybe that's a vehicle for something, or, not anything that's alarming in any way, but just watching. I'm not sure if that's something that the board, you don't want another email in your box. So, but that's available if anybody's interested and would like to receive it, just let me know. Happy to share that with you. I've also been just monitoring in terms of, and Molly, you probably know this better than me, but just looking at what's happening nationally. I've been doing it through news and just every day, just trying to find articles and seeing what's going on around the country. And Minnesota looks like there's a lot of excitement there. Vermont is trying, Wisconsin. And what's been interesting to me is to watching the localities pass paid leave. I mean, I can't remember the name of the county in Texas that passed paid leave. It's the one where, of course, Austin is in. So Travis County, thank you. I knew it was a T, and I was going TU. So anyway, so Travis County in Texas. So it's exciting to see there's this great momentum. And I think Milwaukee also passed paid leave as well. So we've been just congregating articles so that we have a sense, and we've been distributing it to staff. And again, if people here are interested in receiving that, happy to share that as well. And we are following up with Congresswoman Rosa DeLauro just to see about a time to get her on the podcast, and also just to continue the conversation and connect with some other people in DC. I think I'm going to reach out to the US senators, our Connecticut senators, to have do a presentation for them individually. So hopefully that's something that we can line up in the next few weeks. So I think that's all I have. Oh, and then we'll be doing a newsletter for the legislators, which I hope to get out next week. I just wanted the legislative session start to kind of mellow out a little bit. Yeah, I don't know if anybody has any questions or anything.
Thanks so much for that update. I would love to see the spreadsheet. I don't think that'll surprise anyone.
Okay, sure.
And I would say, any of the, in terms of like what's happening in other states, like if I can be helpful, that's what I'm spending a lot of my time doing. Okay. So like I was just testifying in Maryland. There's a bill moving forward in Delaware. We should chat offline.
Yeah, definitely. We're having a conversation on Tuesday, actually, with Senator McBride from Delaware. So she, will be doing that as well. And so I will definitely, I'll connect with you offline, Molly. That'd be great.
That's great. And she's amazing. We've been working really closely with her.
Yeah, like she's already like sent me a couple of questions, and and she's just,
she's incredible. And the other thing I was just going to ask is there any kind of legislative work that the authority is interested in doing proactively? Are we still in the program is brand new, don't mess with this mode? Like, how are we, how is the authority feeling about legislative?
Yeah, we're in the latter mode, really. I think it's just so soon. The first year we were just collecting contributions, and then this year we're implementing. So we just have to wait and see. I mean, there are a couple of things. For example, the blanket prohibition on the simultaneous acceptance of workers' compensation benefits and paid leave benefits bars any kind of receipt of benefit, even if you have, let's say, it's medical only and you're at work, or you have a permanent partial disability, you can still work. Clearly, that was not the intent. If people want to work, even if they're injured or permanently disabled in some way, even if it's partially disabled, we want to be able to do that. So there may be a few things like that we might consider in this session, but for the most part, we're not really considering making any recommendations around substantive changes.
Got it. That makes complete sense. And we should chat about the workers' comp piece, since I've had send Connecticut workers' comp info on my to-do list for a month. And not do it because it is the Connecticut language is the most restrictive in the country. There definitely opportunities to tailor that, because I agree it's an undeniable fact.
I think that we've discovered the same, and the other thing that Erin's working on it, so I have complete confidence it will come to some positive resolution, is the prohibition in the statute of receiving any other state benefit along with this, which means that those that might be receiving some kind of compensation from the Office of the Victim Advocate may also be barred from receiving paid leave benefit. Don't think that's what we intended either, right? So she's working on that. That might not require a statutory change. We're working with OVA right now to see what we can do.
And we did have that meeting with the Office of Victim Services this week about that. And I think they may want to do a legislative change, but if they do, I think that they're going to carry that it's not going to be something that we would. So, but I think they're still negotiating all that.
Got it. And thank you. Any other questions?
Ava has a couple of comments in the chat. Just make sure we acknowledge her.
Yeah, Jacqueline responded that if testimony is needed, they're gonna let us know.
Yeah, that'd be huge. That'd be great. Yeah.
And yes, Ava, we are very busy. That is true.
Great. Before we move on to old and new business, anything else for any other questions for the team or about any of the things that have been discussed today? Okay. Looks like we've got none. With that, is there any old business anyone would like to raise? Is there any new business anyone would like to raise? Any last updates from the team before we move to adjourn? Seeing shaking heads now. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed to adjourning? Any abstaining from the vote to adjourn? And with that, I believe the ayes have it. Thank you so much, everybody. And I will see everyone on our next meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Thank you. Have a nice day.